Hi! As some of you know because of my recent community post, this July 20 is going to be my birthday. So I wanted this video to be a sort of like a special birthday video. It's going to be an update and I am going to give you two things that could be, well, one thing is going to be fun or potentially fun, and the other one is going to be quite useful. I am also going to talk about, yes, what I'm planning to do with the channel, how I'm going to move forward, and also about crunchy and streamlined role-playing games or rules-light role-playing games. First, let's start talking about the couple of good things. About last year, I think it was last year, I became aware of a role-playing game that was called the Ghost Hack. I actually recommended that RPG. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but it's a black hack sort of RPG, but your player characters are ghosts. They are all sorts of incorporeal beings, different types of phantasmal entities, so to speak. And I was thinking if there was some sort of role-playing game before that started the whole ghostly RPG thing. There must have been something before Wraith the Oblivion, that's what I thought. But I didn't look too much into it. A couple of months went by, and while I was looking around the internet using my Wii U, because for those of you that do not know, the Wii U is quite safe to browse the internet because it cannot be infected by virus. Or at least I have been using it for several years now, and I haven't seen any sort of infection. It's because the Wii U software is very, very specific, so it's not worth it to create a virus for that. So like I said, I was looking around like ghostly RPGs or soul RPGs, and then I stumbled upon this RPG called Lost Souls. And it got me really curious because I didn't know anything about it. I had never heard about it before. But it was this website, and I started to look around in the website, and they actually have the entire line of Lost Souls for free. They are giving them away, all of the adventures, the supplements, the core rulebook, of course, for free. So I thought that was really neat. They are also selling it in lulu.com. If you are looking for a physical copy, I think they still have it available there. But they are, like I said, they are giving the entire line for free. But I am always quite cautious when it comes to downloading things from the internet and entering these websites, especially those that do not have HTTPS. This website only had HTTP. So I was hesitant before using my computer to enter that site and download the entire line of RPG products. But later on, last year, I became aware of a site that is incredibly useful. It's called Virus Total. I think a lot of you already know about it. It's owned by Google. Virus Total is basically a website, and you enter that place and you can basically scan any sort of file in your computer or any sort of URL, any sort of website, etc., to see if it's infected, because that website subjects anything that you upload, any file or any URL or just a link, to see if it's infected. They have like between 60 something to 93 antivirus engines analyzing the entire thing at the same time. So I decided to try that out with the Lost Souls website. It's called Haunted Attic. I'm going to put the link in the description. You could use Virus Total so that you can see for yourself. I right clicked on the website on the link, and I copied the URL, placed it in the URL of Virus Total, and it was threat free. And so I went into the site and then I found the section where you can download all of the RPG PDFs, and I right-clicked each link. Well, I have the Spanish version of Windows. So in Spanish it says something like copiar dirección de enlace. So in English should be translated to copy the link address probably. So I right-clicked on that and I pasted that on the URL section of Virus Total, and I analyzed all of the files and they are threat-free. So I downloaded all of the files, and I have skimmed the different books, just gave them a quick look, and it looks like a very fun, potentially, if not creepy, perhaps melancholic RPG, because you are playing as people who died. You get to determine the professions of the different people, the way in which they died, etc. And you can play as a phantom, as a banshee, as a rusalka, apparition, wraith, remnant, etc. Any sort of incorporeal being, or like a ghostly entity. And the supplements include this setting known as Bone World. So you are having adventures both in the world of the living and in the afterlife, a bit like Beetlejuice perhaps. And so it looks like a really fun RPG. I still haven't gotten really into it to give you my opinion if it's good or bad, but it's free and it's a pioneer. It's probably according to the information in the website, it's most likely the first role-playing game, tabletop RPG, where you can play as a ghost, because Wraith the Oblivion came out in 94 and this one appeared in 1991. So it wouldn't surprise me if Wraith the Oblivion took some inspiration, to put it like that, from that RPG. So definitely check that out. I'm going to put the link in the description to that website, also to Virus Total if you want to analyze the website. I have already analyzed the website a few days ago and it's still threat-free. So yes, I hope you find the Virus Total information useful. That way you can analyze files before downloading those files. There are some very suspicious files out there, so you right-click and you copy the link address, or yes, and you paste it in the URL section to check if it's virus-free. The same for websites. Or you can also type the address of the site that you want to visit. And in the case of Lost Souls, I definitely hope that it's a fun RPG. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it looks very cool. Now let's talk about the state of the channel and how I'm going to proceed. I'm still going to continue with my multi-part reviews, with my videos examining every aspect of the different RPGs. I think that I will get better along the way. And sometimes I think that I am not giving enough information about some things. In other times, I think that I'm just examining too much or looking too deep into some things. So I want to strike that balance. But as always, if you have feedback, it is always welcome. I cannot promise that I will apply the corrections or the suggestions of that feedback, but it's always useful to see if there is some way of improving the videos. But well, when it comes to technical limitations, things are still going to be quite lo-fi. I think that when I am finished with a few RPGs, with a few review series that I have ongoing at the time, I am going to review a couple of board games, and they are very interesting, very difficult to find as well, somewhat expensive, but they are, I think that they are hidden gems. I think you will find the mechanics quite interesting, and maybe if you have the luck and the money, you will be able to find them on eBay, or who knows. Because for example, one of them, and I want to keep them as a surprise, one of them was out of print, and you could only get it in places like I said, in eBay and whatnot, for like $300 or more. But I think it was about a year and a half ago. I actually found it in Amazon. It was temporarily available. It's like some seller had like a bunch of copies and he wanted to get rid of those copies, and it was available for about $50, shipping included. It was incredibly lucky, so I immediately purchased it, and I want to give you my opinion on that board game, because both of those board games that I'm going to review when I get the chance, they have some very strong RPG elements. Just to give you a small preview, or one of them, it feels like as if you are playing old school Might and Magic. You know, the dungeon crawler, first person dungeon crawler, but you're moving across the game world and you're entering these dungeons, caverns, you're fulfilling quests. There are actually some better comparisons. I forget this very old name for a Nintendo Entertainment System dungeon crawler. I think that's more like this board game, because you only control for the most part a single player character, although others will join you if you give them the chance, depending on the encounter. And it's a game that is very fun because it is quite unbalanced. Sometimes a bit like Talisman, but slightly more freeform. No, a lot more freeform in my opinion, considering Talisman is always like running around the board. Here you have open map, and you have lakes and rivers, like I said, temples, different towns and villages, but you can go in any direction. And it also has a very strong player versus player component, so you could say that in some ways it reminds you of Talisman, but when it comes to the scope, in my opinion, and because you don't have to buy a lot of expansions so that the experience feels a bit more complex, it's one of my favorite board games, and I've only played it 3 times. I want to, with other people, I want to see if there is some way to play it solo. I'm still thinking about that. The other board game is a competitive board game that could also, I think it has some solo potential. But when I played it with other people, it was so fun because you were constantly trying to recruit better adventurers. You have like a pool of adventurers and you're trying to grab the best ones. And some of them have some interesting powers and quirks to them. There is actually this dark dwarf, and when you are alone, that is, the less party members that you have around you, the more powerful that dark dwarf becomes. So it's a great character when you are falling behind, when the other players are pretty far ahead in obtaining treasure and etc. And you have just this dark dwarf, he can turn the entire game around. But then again, because it's just one character, he can also be quite easily killed by traps and curses, etc. So I hope I will get a chance to review those board games as soon as I can. But first, like I said, I want to complete some of the reviews that I have going on at the moment. Okay, I wanted to talk a bit about crunchy or complex or potentially complicated role-playing games with a lot of subsystems and all of that, and some more rules light or streamlined RPGs. Mostly I wanted to talk about the differences and why some people enjoy crunchy role-playing games or complex role-playing games, and some others enjoy the ones that are a bit more rules light. As you may have guessed from my reviews, I like both styles of RPGs. And I think that it feels a bit like exercise and rest. For me, complex role-playing games, they really exercise my brain. Because of all of those potentially complicated rules and subsystems, when you actually get things going, when you have memorized some things, when you understand the mechanics and apply those mechanics to different situations, encounters, combat, social situations, it feels so great. It really stimulates your mind. And when I play rules light or more like streamlined systems, it's very relaxing, so that's quite enjoyable by itself. But I have noticed, and this is just my opinion, don't think that this is like, oh, that's the way it is. I've noticed that people that play a lot of very complex RPG systems, they are usually very stressed or tense in my opinion, like they are just like a bit high strung or just tense, a bit stressed. But on the other hand, you have those players that play like very simplified systems. There are some RPG systems out there that you only roll like a couple of six-sided dice and that's it, and you check the result, that's it. Or that you flip a coin. There is actually a role-playing game, I'm forgetting the name. I remember that it's an environment like in the sewers, like a magical realm in the sewers in a modern setting. And in that one, I think that you only flip a coin. Can you believe that? I think that would be a great system for those that like to LARP. Mm, but I have noticed that people that only play like very simple systems, mm, well, there is no other way to put it. They aren't exactly too bright, especially when it comes to people tricking them or using logic. So I think, in my opinion, I think that it's best if you either don't play a single system all the time, or if you keep a certain balance. And I am giving you the most negative examples, of course. That doesn't mean that everyone who plays um, complicated systems is going to be like very tense and stressed, and someone who only plays rules light systems is going to be very dumb. I'm just saying you that some general things that I have seen. So I think that it's a good idea to sometimes play complex systems, sometimes play simple or streamlined or rules light systems, because like I said, it reminds me, I don't know if I said this before, but it reminds me about exercise and rest. Yes. Because if you are constantly exercising your body non-stop, you may actually end up injuring yourself. And it's also going to be more expensive. A lot of you know that I practice different meditation techniques like the Wim Hof method, sun gazing. I have also experimented with, how would you call it in English? Prolonged fasting, where you stop like 3 days without eating, and then everything in your body starts to regenerate. When you eat after 3 days of fasting, the flavors are so intense. It's like an explosion of flavors. And if you keep doing, like I said, exercise all the time, you're not going to give your body chance to rest, regenerate, recover. That's when you injure your bones or your muscles. But on the other hand, if you are constantly sleeping and resting, you start to become really fat. Even if you eat very healthy, your muscles deteriorate. Anything that you do not use, or just that you do not adequately use, or that you frequently employ, is going to start this process of atrophy. So people who do not exercise, they start to, well, you know what happens. They start to, let's say, lose shape. And so I think it is a similar situation when it comes to complex rule set and rules light rule sets. That's just my take on things. And this doesn't mean that you always have to play. Maybe somebody just hates complex systems. Maybe someone else hates rules light systems. But maybe it would be a good idea that if you play complex systems, you do not play them all the time. I think that's how you end up with burnout, or to perhaps even just like you do not feel the enthusiasm of playing role-playing games. And in the case of rules light games, it could happen like that. Maybe there is no burnout, but you become too bored because the rules are too simple. Maybe they are not stimulating enough. So in those cases, I would recommend that you play perhaps once a week or once every 2 weeks, and then you will still keep things, they will feel fresh. The complex systems will still feel stimulating without putting too much pressure on your brain. And the rules light systems, they won't feel too boring because, oh, it's always the same and the system is too simple. But if you do not play it all the time, then it's always going to feel just like a nice walk in the park, but with dragons and zombies or whatever. So yes, those are just my thoughts. Like I said, don't think that I am setting some rules as to, oh, you should play complex games in this way, or rules light systems or games like that. And that's just my take on things. Well, thank you for watching this video. Oh, I forgot to mention, there is currently the Christmas in July sale in Drive-Thru RPG. There are some good sales and discounts. Make sure you check them out. So yes, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching this birthday video. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. I'll see if I can keep my pace or my rhythm of posting RPG videos, because these 3 days, because of my birthday, they are going to be a bit busy, but I will still try to upload videos. So once again, thank you, and thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending Drive-Thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.